Hello, this is Sondra, Oster, Baras, bringing you a few words of Bible from the heart of Biblical Israel. This week's Torah portion is Vayeshev, and this Torah portion, of course, begins the whole saga of Joseph and his brothers. And it doesn't start out very well. It begins with a very problematic fact that Jacob favors one child. He favors Joseph. And of course, for all of us who are parents, we know that is the worst thing you can do. And as expected, it creates incredible jealousy and resentment on the part of the brothers against Joseph, to the extent that they say they hated him so that they could not speak a friendly word to him. They were not on speaking terms anymore. And of course, Joseph is the youngest. Benjamin is younger, but Joseph is young and he is not wise. Okay? Now he has these dreams, and they're clearly prophetic dreams, because we see these dreams coming true later on, the dreams that show him as being a leader and his brothers coming before him, and he's the leader. And of course, we see that when he becomes one of the leaders or princes of Egypt. But you know what? When you get a dream like this, don't go and tell your brothers. It's as if he's saying, guess what? I'm going to be better than you. They already resent him because his father favors him. And he's just kind of rubbing salt into the wound. Okay, but he's 17 years old, so he's really not very smart and wise about human relationships. But of course, this just makes this situation worse. And of course, it all comes to a head when his brothers go ahead up north in order to graze the sheep. It's a long way, by the way. They're going all the way up near Shechem, and they're down living in Hebron. And it would probably happen, this is our tradition, that if you recall, when Jacob first came back to the land, he actually purchased a piece of property in that area. And so this idea is that there was property up there was sheep up there, and from time to time they would go and take care of their property and their sheep and whatever up in that area. Makes a lot of sense. Anyway, so he goes to look for his brothers, and they see him coming, and they start saying, okay, what are we going to do? Let's kill him. And there are two brothers here that are they don't love Joseph, but they're not in the killing business. And that's Reuben and Judah, and each in their own way try to prevent them from killing him. So it's Judah that says to them, he has this idea. He says, so first Reuben says, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him into the pit. Okay? And I guess the brothers assuming, Reuben's thought was, I'll come back later and pull him out of the pit and I'll save him. But what the brothers understand is, okay, we won't actually kill him, but we'll allow him to die by throwing him into a pit. And eventually he will be either, eaten by snakes or bitten by snakes, or he'll starve or whatever. He's stuck in that pit. And that's indeed what they do. And then comes Judah and he says, you know what? Why should we be involved at all in his bloodshed? Well, even if he's in a pit, he's involved in the bloodshed. Let's go sell him to the Ishmaelites, because he sees this caravan, coming down in the distance. Okay, now this is very important. What exactly happened? And of course, the usual understanding is then come the caravans, and the brothers took him out of the pit. They sold him to the Ishmaelites, who eventually sold him to the Midianites, and then they brought him down to Egypt. But let's read exactly what the verse says, okay? So Judah is saying in verse 27, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites so that our hands will not come in against him. In other words, we will not be blamed. We will not actually have killed him, for he is our brother, our flesh. And then it doesn't say that the brothers agreed. It said the brothers listened. We don't know if they agreed. It says they listened. Okay, and there's a number of times like that where it says somebody listened. A very similar kind of thing is when Simeon and Levi are very upset with the rape of Dinah, or the capture and rape of Dinah, and they already suggest a very violent approach. And there it says, and Jacob listened. It doesn't say that he, it says he heard, and then he, held on to that. In other words, and clearly he was critical and exactly what happened there is something else, but just because somebody heard something or listened to something doesn't mean they agree. And that's what we have here. And then we have the next verse. And the Midianite traders, passed by. They pulled Joseph up out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites who brought Joseph to Egypt. Now the question is, when it says they pulled Joseph out of the pit and they sold Joseph, who is they referring to? Is it referring to the brothers or is it referring to the Midianites? Now in verse 28, the only people they're talking about there are Midianites. It is the Midianites who passed by and they pulled him up and they took him out of the pit and they sold him to the Ishmaelites. So a clear reading of the scripture will just say that the people who actually pulled him out of the pit were not the brothers to sell them to the Ishmaelites, but the Midianites. They pulled him out of the pit and they ended up selling him to the Ishmaelites. And the Ishmaelites, by the way, one of the explanations, because you have the Midianites, the Ishmaelites, and again the Midianites, and it's not sure who's who and who ended up doing the selling, but one of the explanations makes a lot of sense, is that the Ishmaelites doesn't just mean they're from the nation of Ishmaelites, but Ishmaelites became a word similar to, let's say, a word we use today, Bedouins, or a certain type of people that are nomads. In this case, a certain type of people that led caravans. They were the caravan drivers, and in this case, the merchants were the Midianites, but the people who were the caravan drivers were the Ishmaelites. So the Midianites are the ones who are doing the selling, but it's the Ishmaelites who are actually leading the caravan, and they're the trader, they're go-betweens or whatever, they're messengers, they're DHL and FedEx, that's what the Ishmaelites are. But anyway, so based on this, it is not that brothers who sold, it's the brothers who threw him in the pit, where Reuben has the intention of coming back to rescue him, and Judah is thinking about selling him, but he doesn't actually do it. But where then and then of course Reuben comes back and they see Joseph isn't there, and it's very possible, there's two possibilities here. Either the brothers saw what happened and did nothing, or the possibility, Reuben of course wasn't there, he comes back and he discovers later, or that the brothers themselves discover that he's not in the pit at the point that Reuben does. He comes back to him and he says, where did he go? And there's no answer there. It doesn't say we don't know, and it doesn't say they got sold. They don't know. That's what we see here from these verses. Now, later on, in the context of the brothers coming down to Egypt, they encounter Joseph, and of course he's putting them through all kinds of hardships. And at one point, they turn to each other and they say to each other, not realizing, of course, that Joseph understands what they're saying, and they say to each other as follows. And this is in chapter 42, verse 21. They said, "Alas, we are being punished on account of our brothers, because we looked on at his anguish, yet paid no heed as he pleaded with us." Nowhere does it say we are guilty, or this is our punishment, we are guilty because we sold him. It says we are guilty because we looked on. And here, this could have, again, inconsistent with what we are reading here, two different things could have happened. When we threw him in the pit, he was pleading to us and we ignored him. It could also be we saw him being taken out and taken by the caravan, and at that point he also pleaded to us and we ignored him. However the case may be, when we talk about what happened here, we talk about Joseph's brothers selling him to Egypt as a slave, because it really doesn't matter who actually pulled him out of the pit. They knew what was happening. He pleaded with them, "Don't do this, help me," and they ignored his cries. And when you ignore the cries of somebody who needs you, especially when you're the one who caused his anguish, and you do not help him, even though your hands may not have physically done all the things that happened to him, afterwards you are responsible, because you could have prevented it from the beginning. And that's a very important lesson for all of us. Have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom.
I hope you enjoyed that film. And we have lots more film content and emails and articles that I'm sure you will enjoy as well. Check out our website at CFOIC.com and subscribe to our newsletter. You can do that right from the homepage. I know you will really enjoy the content that will land in your inbox on a regular basis. Hope to see you soon.